What trends and things that you tend to notice, especially for busy, stressed out women?
Definitely one of the biggest trends is that women are not feeding themselves enough. And when they do, it's usually with the foods that aren't serving them the best. Women not eating enough because I feel like I shouldn't be eating more than 1,200. I don't know where this magic number of 1,200 calories came from. The other one is I need to go to the gym and I need to bust my butt every day. So I need to be burning on top of that. I'm not only eating enough, but then I'm running on fumes and trying to burn 500-600 calories with these crazy HIIT workouts and whatnot.
Today on PSI Love Me, we have Riyana Rupani, a leading nutritionist, health coach, and founder of Everyday Foods, a food retail company that basically upgrades all the foods that people love to eat, minus all those nasties.
Two other little things that are amazing for brain health, energy, clarity, etc. One is MCT oil. Start with just a teaspoon of it in the morning. And then the other one is trying some mild intermittent fasting. Really beneficial and can be really great if done in the right way. So I always tell people follow the acronym VPF. Vegetables, proteins, healthy fats. You look on your plate and you see those three things, you're good.
Welcome, Riyana. It's so great to have you here. So we were introduced many years ago when I had my online wellness magazine platform, and you were just getting going with your nutrition offerings and platform, including Clean in 15, which is a 15-day detox, which I did and absolutely loved. And I've loved watching you grow. You've gone great guns, and you now have an amazing retail food company that's, amazing. And you have one of these classic quick corporate life stories to set up your own business, but it was actually from your own health issues that led you to this. What exactly happened, and what was that aha moment where you were like, I'm quitting this, enough is enough?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I spent most of my career in corporate America and Asia, here in Singapore, where I am now. And I was always good at what I did, I guess. I worked hard. I played hard. I thought I was, healthy and doing all the right things, but clearly that wasn't the case. So throughout my life, I've always kind of struggled with a couple of health issues, but, I always got the nod that it's normal. It happens to women. Just take this pill. And so I got on with things, right? I took the pill and I got on with things. It started as young as my teens when I was diagnosed with PCOS, and I took the pill and I moved on. And then in my 20s, it was chronic anxiety, which kind of took over my life for a bit. And I took the pill and I moved on. And I kind of went through life like that. And it wasn't until I was in my early 30s, that my health really caught up with me. I was pretty much burnt out, you could say. So I was, what did they say, burning the candle at both ends. And it just was not working. I was miserable. I was covering it up really well, but I was a mess, quite honestly. And it was at that point that, I kind of was like, and I was still working, in my lovely corporate job. And it was at that point, though, that I was like, I need to do something. I really need to change something or tweak something or figure it out, because the medicine's not helping me. The doctors aren't helping me. And this sucks. So I just really started to just do a little bit of digging, Dr. Google, and started looking into holistic health and well-being. That was like the first thing that kind of came about, and how changing your diet, changing your lifestyle, setting boundaries, all of these things started to pop up. And I was like, okay, there's got to be, something to this. And I'm a foodie, right? So one thing is, everybody who knows me knows I love food. And at first my inclination was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to cut out all of the foods that I love. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. So if I want to follow these tips and whatnot that I'm seeing online, I better figure out a way to make it taste good and make it work for me. So yeah, still working, still kind of going through the motions of changing my diet, making small tweaks. And it was incredible. The amount of change that I saw in myself, physically, emotionally, even my energy, it was just amazing. And it wasn't even that long of a time. I would say maybe it was about a year in total. And this was with me doing it, piecemeal by myself. And I was just flabbergasted. I was like, this is incredible. This is amazing. I need to figure out how to learn more and share more, right? Because when you're going on a journey like this, you talk to other women, you talk to other people, and that's when other people resonate and are like, me too. Oh my gosh, maybe I should try this. What are you doing with that? So I made the decision I didn't quit my job at the time. I ended up taking a sabbatical, because quitting your job when you've been in a certain career for, 15, 20 years is not an easy thing to do. So I was lucky enough to get a sabbatical. I went back to school. And as I was learning on this, 2-year journey, I started an Instagram account, and I just was sharing, what I learned, recipes, things that I was cooking and making. And this community kind of developed, where there were so many people who could relate to what I was going through, or who went through experiences that were the same, and who were appreciating, the recipes or the tips that I was sharing. And I said, this is amazing. Like, this is my calling. Not only was I helping myself, I was helping others. And that gratification to help other people, it's like no other. So I decided to do maybe at the time I didn't know what I was doing, but I quit my job and I just went in head first. I started to work with clients one-on-one slowly. I didn't know what I wanted to do with all of it. And I'll be honest, it just kind of happened really organically. I didn't plan any of this. If you asked me, 15 years ago, what I would be doing today, this would not have been the answer at all.
Yeah, and I've seen, I've been a client of yours in Clean in 15, and you can tell that you're a foodie because the recipes are just so delicious. You just would not think you are on a detox, like just no way. I still use some of those recipes, and I did Clean in 15, 6-7 years ago, and I'm still using some of those recipes, including the sea crackers I use every day. They're just amazing. I love the fish taco dish. There's many of them that I still use because they're just so delicious, and everyone in your family can eat them. So actually, when you're on a Clean in 15, the whole family and your partner and kids can eat what you're eating as well. You can tell you come at it from satisfying people's needs and satiation as well. It's not just starving for 15 days. It's completely the other end of the spectrum. You're nourishing your body. And I noticed after 15 days how I felt. My skin was glowing. I had more energy. But also the community you create with your WhatsApp chats is so supportive. Everyone's sharing their meals every day. And for me, I'm in the wellness sphere as well. But for me, I was almost shocked at the difference in wellness know-how. So you've got people on the community that are like us and they know quite a lot. And then you've got people who just know nothing, even about products with sugar and MSG. And it's like, wow, no, girlfriend, step away from that product in the supermarket. And yeah, it was a really eye-opener, because you forget when you're in this world how, the everyday woman doesn't have that time to invest in understanding nutrition, and people like you are really supporting busy women who are trying to do everything in life and really need support with their own health before it's too late. And I had my own burnouts. As you know, when in my PR agency, I had 2 major health burnouts. My gut health was such a mess. And that was my aha moment to deep diving into the wellness industry and really understanding how we can nourish our body better. And health is wealth at the end of the day. If we don't have our health, we have nothing. We absolutely have nothing. So, and when did you start your retail products?
So that started about 3 years ago. And that also happened organically. So I'm a big advocate and I'm a big believer of not giving up the foods that you love, but finding either better ways to cook it or, better ingredients to prepare it. So it's all about making those great swaps. And it started with Clean in 15, actually. Clean in 15, 2 or 3 groups. I remember, right? Being in Singapore, people love their big, bold flavors. They like their spice. They like their chili. And, client after client was coming in and saying, okay, but Riyana, what is the chili oil or what is the chili sauce that I put on top of, dish X? And I went out into the market, I looked in the US, the UK, all of Asia, and I'm like, there has to be a good one out there, right? Like this is a huge demographic. People love their hot sauces and chili sauce. And it wasn't there. And I was like, okay, time for me to start figuring this out because I didn't want people to feel like they were compromising. So I started to make chili sauces and chili oils at home for, a small group of clients, friends, family, and people loved them. They really enjoyed them. They came back. They said, can I buy this somewhere? I really want to gift it. I want to give it to a friend who I know loves it. I don't feel like crap after I eat this. I'm looking at the ingredients. I understand everything that's in there. This is awesome. So my pots of chili at home got bigger and bigger. And then from there, it got to a place, thank goodness, where we moved it out to a commercial kitchen. But yeah, so it started with those, chili oils and sauces. So there was 4 to start. And then from there, the product range grew. So my philosophy is upgrade your pantry, right? Replace those staples in your kitchen that you rely on all the time with better for you versions. So we do the chili sauces. We do a product called coconut aminos, which is a soy-free and gluten-free alternative for soy sauce. It's also got half the sodium. And then we now have a complete gluten-free bakery here in Singapore as well. So we make crackers, we make granolas, we make a whole gluten-free bread range. And our philosophy is you can trust us, right? I want everyone to be able to trust the products I put out there because the people that I work with, so even though I've started this brand, I still run my Clean in 15s. I still work with a selective clientele one-on-one because I feel like that's my purpose, right? It's helping people. And everyday foods, the products that I put out there are just a way for me to reach more people and help more people.
So tell me, in Clean in 15 and all your one-on-ones that you do, what trends and things that you tend to notice, especially for busy, stressed out women?
Definitely one of the biggest trends is that women are not feeding themselves enough. And when they do, it's usually with the foods that aren't serving them the best. So just to give you an idea, the rough demographic of the person that I predominantly work with, there are your busy women who are probably between the ages of, let's say, 35 and 55, right? They have busy lives. Some of them are moms. They're, got huge careers and they want to take care of themselves. They want to do good, but it's hard, right? Like you said before with, some people know it, some people don't, and gaining that knowledge can be tricky, right? Because there's so much information out there. There's so much information, through Instagram, social media platforms, Google, etc. But yeah, so one of the biggest things is definitely women not eating enough because I feel like I shouldn't be eating, more than 1,200. I don't know where this magic number of 1,200 calories came from. But that's one thing. The other one is I need to go to the gym and I need to bust my butt every day. So I need to be burning on top of that. I'm not only eating enough, but then I'm running on fumes and trying to burn 500-600 calories with these crazy HIIT workouts and whatnot. And then I want to relax. So I'm going to sit in front of the TV until midnight and watch Netflix and just, quote unquote, relax and not get enough sleep. So it's this vicious cycle where we're trying to nourish ourselves in terms of our mind in a way that might not be serving us. We're trying to do the right thing with movement. We're trying to do the right thing with food, but the pieces just, it's not adding up. And maybe for this demographic and these women, what you were doing probably worked and could have worked when you were, in your 20s. But our bodies are not the same anymore. And it's that aha moment that I see a lot of my clients have while we're working together.
Now, I was absolutely the same in my early 30s over 10 years ago. And I was doing exactly that with my PR agency. I was getting up at 6:30. I was doing an F45 workout, hit, going into the office, working my ass off for 10 hours, having a very low carb diet, not nourishing myself, not getting enough sleep. And that in turn raises your cortisol levels. So my body already had high cortisol from my stressful job, but I was layering on extra cortisol from the HIIT workouts. And tell us, what are the downsides to having a body swimming in cortisol?
Yeah, so cortisol is not a bad hormone, right? It's produced by our adrenals. It's what puts us in a state of fight or flight versus rest and digest or rest and repair. And your body needs cortisol, right, to get you moving if you're in danger. Now, the problem is every time your cortisol increases or rises, you get these little bouts of inflammation. And again, right, your body is built to handle it, no problem. But the problem is with our hectic lifestyle and the amount of cortisol that's surging through our bodies constantly is we're in this state of chronic inflammation. So your immune system is off. Your body is constantly feeling like it's in danger, that it doesn't know what's coming next. It's in survival mode, which just turns off a lot of different processes. So weight loss, for example, right? If your cortisol is constantly elevated, your body's like, oh my gosh, there's a famine coming. There's something going on. I better hold on to whatever this person is giving me in terms of calories, energy. So yeah, it's just this constant battle that your body's having. And the problem is a lot of us don't even realize it until we make a change for the better, until we start to understand this whole process and whatnot. Because our body is so amazing at keeping us in like a state of homeostasis or keeping us feeling as normal. And I put that in quotes, air quotes, normal as possible. And so a lot of us are just kind of living life until, the shoe drops and we get the wake-up call that we need to make a change.
Yeah. And what are some of the foods that as busy women can nourish our bodies with to help with counteract, I don't know if you can, but counteract cortisol and high adrenal glands and all the rest of it? What foods should we be eating more of to nourish our bodies?
Yeah. So there's definitely, things you can do and foods you can eat to kind of help your body mitigate some of the impacts. And I know I can't tell everyone to, just don't stress anymore, or I'll quit your job and, go to yoga. But in terms of foods, a big one and a really easy one for a lot of people is just swapping out the oils that you cook with, right? A lot of us are using things like vegetable oils, canola oil, sunflower oil, and we think it's like heart healthy. But it's actually causing a lot of omega-6s, right? They're full of omega-6s, which cause a lot of inflammation. So they're pro-inflammatory. So just simply replacing those with better for you oils, olive oil, avocado oil, butter, ghee, which is clarified butter, coconut oil. Those are my 5 kind of go-to. You're going to help your inflammation levels come down significantly. And if you bring your inflammation levels down, your cortisol levels will also come down. In regards to what nourishes your adrenals, so your adrenals, again, are the glands that create cortisol. They run on vitamin C. So they hold the most amount of vitamin C in our bodies. So making sure you're getting good vitamin C foods, citrus fruits, for example, in your diet is great. And then minerals. right? So salts. So a lot of my clients, a lot of my girls who are dealing with chronic stress, adrenal burnout, what I make them do is I make them make a concoction called Soleil, which is basically water that is saturated with high quality salts. So whether it's a Himalayan pink salt, Celtic salt, a really good sea salt, so something that's a natural salt, right? So they have this Soleil, so your saturated water, and they take a tablespoon of that and they put it in a glass of water and they have it first thing in the morning. And that really helps nourish your adrenals, get your mineral balance back up to play as well. So those are like two easy ones.
Very easy and very interesting about the oils. I didn't realize that the vegetable oils were actually inflammatory. So easy trick just to clean out your pantry and replace it with the good fats and the anti-inflammatory fats. And speaking of pantries, if you're a busy single woman, running a mile a minute, what other things can you stock your pantry up with? And what are like easy meals for one that you can either batch cook or cook during the week that's wholesome and clean for you?
Yeah. Okay. So what I would definitely recommend having in your fridge and freezer, right? And this is a simple one, is something like, a pre-cooked rotisserie chicken, which you can kind of pull off the bone and just keep it in there. You can make a sandwich out of it. You can throw it on a salad. You can do just about anything with it. The other one is frozen fish is really great. So making sure you've got like some good protein options, readily available ground meat as well, for my vegetarians in the pantry. Making sure you've got, either dried lentils or canned beans is a good one to be able to just throw it either into a stew or onto a salad. So that's really a good thing to have in the fridge, freezer. In terms of the pantry, so same thing, I would say, canned. No one has to be afraid of, number one, frozen vegetables. And I know canned food can get a bad rap, but it can be a lifesaver, right? So things like canned tuna, for example, again, right? Quick protein, really easy to put together. Things like anchovies and sardines as well. I know some people might be like, they don't taste good. They are so nutrient dense. It is unbelievable. So just figuring out a quick way to, cook up sardines. I love it with just sun-dried tomatoes, some parsley, sea salt, garlic. Done. It actually tastes great. Try it. Fast and easy. It doesn't have to be complicated. That's the whole thing. A lot of people have this misconception that it's all or nothing. So either I'm going to order fast food or I'm going to make a gourmet meal at home. And there definitely is a balance. The other quick thing that I tell everybody to have is always a sauce. So have some kind of a sauce, whether it's salsa, whether it's your favorite hot sauce, whether it's maybe a low sugar barbecue sauce, whatever your flavor or your fancy is. Because if you've got a variety of sauces in your pantry, you can take any ingredient and change it up very quickly.
Yeah, I agree. I have a very northern pantry, so I've got plenty of good gravy in the freezer, along with all my hot sauces, like all my clean hot sauces, because you're right, you can judge anything up with a good herb or spice or sauce. And then the chicken is such a great idea. So not all supermarkets do rotisserie chickens, but it's just so easy to get a whole chicken, maybe put an onion or a lemon up its butt and then fling it in the oven. Like, it's the easiest way to cut chicken. And it's also cheaper because it's not all prepared and pre-cut. And I do that quite regularly, and it'll last 2 or 3 meals. And then when I have time, I boil the bones up to create a nice stock for a fruit. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, right? People kind of have to say, like, one of the biggest tips I give people is just start with a half an hour on a weekend, right? Just take a half an hour and figure out, what does my week look like? And what is my week going to look like with food, right? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatnot. Don't do anything beyond that, right? A lot of us tend to try and go in and do everything. Like, I'm going to haul my kitchen out, throw everything out. I'm going to restart. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm tired now and I have nothing in my kitchen. So you don't want to go there. So start small, half an hour on a weekend. What does my week look like? What am I going to do for food? Fine. Next week, okay, half an hour, what am I going to do for food? Let me go to the grocery store maybe and just stock up on a couple of things. That is going to make life a little easier. Do that for a while, right? Even this whole concept of meal prepping and meal planning and, whatnot, amazing, but you can't start with that, right? So go out, go to the grocery store, get a couple of tins of tuna that are going to last you, forever. Stock your freezer with some frozen veggies, some good protein sources, and go from there.
If you love PSI Love Me and want to dive in deeper, then join the Evolve Woman, my 8-week online coaching program, which will take you on a transformative journey of self-discovery, fulfillment, and to find the joy and love you so deserve. Check out my Instagram, Lynda Williams Coach, to find out more.
A lot of us are working from home now. In the morning, get your fillet of salmon out, get it defrosted, 12-minute dinner. I can actually make salmon and greens in 12 minutes in the evening. I've timed it, and it's delicious and nutritious and a bit of spice in there. What do you think about eggs? How often are you a pro egg person? Because I love a good boiled egg, fried egg, scrambled egg.
I am. I mean, it's a complete meal that you can have. It's a power food for sure. It's got everything: vitamins, minerals, good fats, protein. You can have eggs for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Like I love making like a shakshuka or something for dinner. So yeah, eggs are
also a good savior, aren't they? Always have some eggs. You can always have a little omelette. If whatever is in your fridge, throw some vegetables, onion, a bit of cheese into that omelette. It's an easy dinner as well. Yeah, I'm a big fan of eggs. Eggs and tuna are always in my fridge and cupboards.
Yeah, and then that's the other thing, right? Like keeping, veggies or flavor enhancers, I guess, that don't go bad is also, a great option. So like I have a basket in my kitchen underneath my pantry. And I just throw like onions in there and garlic and ginger. And, if you just have those simple flavor makers, it can totally transform a meal. You can pick up like, I don't know, whatever random vegetable is easy for you to get on your way home. And if you've got, the protein, and then you've got these couple of flavor makers sitting in your kitchen, you're good.
And, as women, we have our good old hormones to contend with as well, and our menstrual cycles. And then when we get to perimenopause and menopause, it's not easy. There's all this equal opportunities out there. And, but, as women have all this to contend with as well. And again, a lot of us aren't aware of what's happening hormone-wise at what time of month and what we should be doing to nourish our body, both with food and with exercise. So what do you recommend, depending on what phase of your menstrual cycle you're on? What do you recommend the foods that we should be having to nourish our body with?
Yeah, so this is a huge one. And any woman who, isn't tracking if you are still cycling and if you're not tracking your menstrual cycle, start doing it now, because honestly, it's a vital sign for women, right? If you've got a healthy menstrual cycle, if it, comes on time, if you're not, getting crazy PMS symptoms or cramps or whatnot, it's a great indication of how your hormone health is doing. Now, on the flip side, if you are having a lot of issues and you're like, oh my God, I'm in bed taking Panadol and the rest of it because I can't move, then there's probably some, hormonal imbalances that you want to kind of address, because it's going to bring us down for sure in terms of the energy and whatnot, but it shouldn't be debilitating in any form. But in regards to exercise and foods that we can do to support our cycle, you can split it up kind of into 4 parts. So the first part of your cycle, right when you get your period, right? Then the second part of your cycle, right when you're about to ovulate and when you do ovulate, actually, so 3 parts, I would say. And then the time after you ovulate. So in regards to foods, what would you do? So the time right around ovulation and the time right around when you're going to get your period, that's the time actually we need to have more carbohydrates. So any ladies who are doing, a low carb kind of a diet or staying away from carbs, you'll notice that your body sends you signals during this time. a lot of women are like, I need chocolate, for example, or I want to eat all the things, right? And it's because carbohydrates actually support your hormones, in particular, progesterone, and you need that support during those two phases of your cycle, right? Also in regards to hunger and calories. So again, this whole philosophy that, I can eat, the same amount of calories every single day. Hogwash. Like your cycle will change the amount of calories that your body needs and the amount of calories that you can burn. So yes, the time leading up to your period, for example, you'll probably feel more hungry, right? So making sure, especially during those times, that you have those good foods that you can lean on, whether it's sweet potatoes in the fridge that are already pre-baked, so you're not kind of leaning towards the sugary stuff, but you are getting those healthy carbs, right? It's super important. A lot of women are, there's a term called like white knuckling it, where you're just like, I'm so hungry or I'm so miserable, but I'm going to push through. And what does that do? That, again, kind of leads to the whole cortisol connection, right? It increases your cortisol. So not doing that, be a little intuitive. You'll also find that during certain parts of your cycle, so from like day 2 of when you get your period till about day 10 or 11, your estrogen's really high. You got a good amount of estrogen in your body, and you'll notice that your energy is better. You can probably do better workouts if you're going to the gym, and you'll probably be a lot less hungry. So if people are trying to do things like intermittent fasting, or they're trying to kind of watch what they're eating or whatnot, this phase is going to be like the part that you can optimize that.
Oh, this is really interesting. So day 2 to day 7, if you are going to do a juice cleanse or an intermittent fast, these are the best days to do. See, the people are not even considering this. I'm going to go on a juice cleanse because that's easy for my calendar and I'm not going out that weekend. They're not even considering what time of the month it is. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So you're not going to be as hungry. Your energy is going to be better overall. So yeah, day 2 to even I would say day 10 is probably that good time to really kind of do something like you're saying, like a juice cleanse if you want to. And then the 4 to 5 days leading up to the time that you ovulate is when you want to kind of really get into that nourishing, getting in those good carbs, complex carbohydrates, and knowing, right, that your energy will probably go down a little bit. Maybe you won't be able to push as hard at the gym. Maybe you'll feel a little bit more sleepy, etc. And then during ovulation and few days after that, leading up until the time of your, right before your period, your energy levels again will kind of go up. So yeah, there's so much. I mean, I feel like we could do a whole discussion just on the nuances in a woman's cycle and how they can play with, even things like taking a meeting, right? When your estrogen levels are high, when you're feeling good, if you can schedule a big meeting during that time of your cycle, it's amazing, as opposed to, day 27 and you're going to get your period on day 28. But yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, it's fascinating of how we should monitor our cycle and adjust our exercise and our diet accordingly to nourish our body. And things like sweet potatoes, I always have them in my cupboard, and I'll whack one in the microwave and fling some butter on it if around those times of month when I do eat carbs, but healthy carbs essentially. I don't eat gluten, and I do love red rice and black rice. It's got all the nice fibers and nutrients in. What other carbs would you recommend consuming to nourish your body?
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely whole food carbs come first. So things like sweet potatoes, white potatoes, carrots, those are starchy vegetables in general are great. In terms of grains, rice is wonderful. So, my go-tos are white rice, red rice, and wild rice. They are also quite easy to digest. I know a lot of people think brown rice is a lot healthier. But the thing is, it's also a lot harder for a lot of people to digest. So I kind of steer away from the brown rice. A really nice hack for white rice to kind of improve its starch structure. So it's a little bit more fibrous and it kind of feeds your good gut bacteria, but still gives you the rice that you want, is simply cooking it. And now there's studies. So before they were saying you had to cook it with some coconut oil in there, but now there are studies that are saying that you don't even need to put the coconut oil in there. So you cook it, like normal, but then you cool it completely. So you bring it down to room temperature and then you pop it in the fridge. And then doing that, it actually changes the starch structure to make it more, of a beneficial fiber. So that's just a nice little hack. Same thing with potatoes, by the way. If you cook them in advance, pop them in the fridge, and then reheat them, it changes the starch structure. So it's not going to spike your blood sugar as much. And it's going to be better for your gut. So rice is a good one. Quinoa, I love. Corn, I'm not too much of a fan of. It's quite sugary and it is quite hard to digest. But I think those are my go-tos.
That they are really good hacks about the potatoes and the rice. So pre-cook them, maybe on a Sunday, pop them in the fridge and then heat them up as and when.
Yeah, exactly.
Very interesting. And what else can we eat to support our gut health? Because, I'm a huge believer in gut health, as are you. And once we've got our gut health sorted, I feel everything else falls into place. But what are the sorts of foods that we should be stocking up on more in our fridges and pantries?
So gut health is a little, I wouldn't say complicated, but there's two main issues that happen with gut health. It's either leaky gut, where your gut lining is kind of broken down a bit and foods are kind of seeping through into your bloodstream that shouldn't be there. And you'll know that if you've been diagnosed with any kind of an autoimmune condition or have any kind of seasonal allergies. Those are two big indicators. And then the other one is a dysbiosis, which is an imbalance of your gut bacteria. So you've got too much of the bad guys, not enough of the good guys, or you don't have a good diversity of the good guys. So some simple things to bring in that kind of help with both. Broth. So whether it's bone broth or meat stock that you're, making at home, those are phenomenal with any kind of meat that you're making. Fish, chicken, beef, pork, doesn't matter. Phenomenal for your gut health. They're also really, really high in minerals. So just like a little tip, right? If you're trying to take your stock game and make it into a bone broth game, when you are boiling your meat and your bones, just add a tiny bit of vinegar, apple cider vinegar, if you have, that's my favorite, into the cooking water. And that really helps leach a lot of the minerals out of the bones that you're cooking. So that's a great one to have. If you can't make it, you can buy it. It's probably a lot more expensive, unfortunately, though. Good fats, again, just from a good reducing your inflammation, not making your gut work as hard. Fiber. Fiber is huge. So in terms of feeding your good gut bacteria, they eat vegetables and they love a lot of vegetables. Your bad bacteria loves sugar and feeds off of sugar. So reduce the sweets, reduce the refined carbohydrates. We all want some good carbs as women in our diet, but reduce the refined carbohydrates and then increase your leafy greens, your colorful vegetables. If you're someone who finds it really hard to digest raw vegetables or it's cold and you're like, I don't want to eat a salad, cook your vegetables. Cook it any way you want. Saute it, bake it, roast it, whatever. That'll make it a lot easier to digest. And then the third food, fermented foods. So I always say fermented foods are even better than a probiotic because they've got a lot more diversity in regards to the type of microbes that are in there. So things like kimchi, sauerkraut, beverages even like kombucha, kefir, yogurt. These are all great fermented foods that are going to really support those good guys and help you get that diversity that you want.
Yeah, brilliant. And what about options for vegans and vegetarians when you can't have the dairy or the bone broth? What do you recommend?
So for gut health, vegetables, again, of course. Fermented foods, again. So you can do things like a sauerkraut. You can do things like a kombucha. There's no issue with that. So in terms of broths even, there's some great vegetable broths that you can make. And if you use a lot of different types of mushroom or quote unquote like fungi, They have really great properties in there. Like they're almost like gelatinous in a sense, which really help coat the gut lining as well. So they might not have, as much of, the collagen per se, but it's still going to have a lot of those really healing elements to kind of help coat that gut lining.
And does that go for this? Is that the same for bloat? So say we've got 3 days where we've got to get in our small skinny dress for Saturday night, or we're going to be on the beach in our bikini soon, or we're going to be naked in bed with a guy soon. What should we be doing to reduce that bloat? Like what should we just categorically avoid?
Yeah. Okay. So definitely avoid processed foods, right? Foods that are going to just be predominantly high in sodium. And I'm not saying salt, I'm saying sodium, because if it's got good salts in there, it's got magnesium and potassium as well that are going to act as an electrolyte actually, and actually help you debloat or hold less water weight. So high sodium foods is what you want to avoid for sure. And then in terms of what you want to bring in, so definitely tons of water, right? Adding a little pinch of salt in there, a little squeeze of lemon is amazing. Making sure you're digesting your food well. This is a huge one that a lot of women take for granted, right? Because you can eat really healthy meal, right? Full of protein, full of all the good veg, etc. But if you're scarfing it down, if you're like chewing twice and swallowing, you better believe it in that meal is going to bloat you. So cooking your veggies down for sure helps with that. So lots of fiber, but easy to digest. So by cooking it, protein for sure, easy to digest proteins. And then the way you eat your food, just slow down, set a timer, even if you need to, for 10 minutes. It's not that long. And consciously eat your food. It is incredible how quickly you will see the results in regards to bloating and digestion if you just kind of mindfully eat your food.
Oh, I agree. And a lot of us are on our phones or our laptops like eating, but I think what people don't understand is that digestion starts as soon as it comes in your mouth with because exactly, your brain is like, oh, hello, we need to send some digestive juices to the mouth and to the gut. And if your brain is not mindfully aware of eating, then that's when you get the bloat, right?
Exactly. So even that's a thing, right? You think about it. If someone's cooking in the kitchen, if it's not you, and you smell food, right? You're like, oh, right. And maybe your tummy will rumble a little bit, or maybe you'll start salivating just a little bit. So yeah, it starts here. A lot of people are like, oh, it starts in my mouth, or digestion starts in my stomach. No. So telling your brain, having your brain register, food is coming. I'm about to nourish myself. I'm about to start breaking down food, and I want to reap the best and the most out of it. That is super, super important.
Yeah. And going back to carbs, because the good old keto diet has raised its head again, and not from a diet perspective, but from brain health, energy, hormone support, all the rest of it. And I'm now like, oh no, not this again. What do you think about it all? Because the promotion for keto at the moment now is not weight loss, it's health.
It's brain health, yeah. So fats are good, okay? And we all need healthy fats in our diet. And I think a lot of us, myself, I know, grew up in a time and an era where we were told fats are bad, low fat, low fat, low fat. If you eat fat, you're going to become fat. And now we know, okay, that's not true, right? We need good, healthy fats in our diet for our brain health, because our brain is predominantly made out of fat, which is mostly cholesterol. Our cells are coated in fat. Our hormones are built on fat, right? But here's the thing with a diet like a keto diet, okay? It is considered a therapeutic diet. So unless there's like a medical reason, why you're on a ketogenic diet, it doesn't work for most people. Simply because it's really hard for the normal person to stick to a diet that is that restrictive, right? Sure, it might last for a week where you're like, I'm going to eat high fat, no problem. And then the weekend rolls around and you're like, oh, I'm just going to have one slice of pizza, or I'm going to have just one bite of that taco or whatnot. And boom, that's it. Your body goes out of ketogenesis. And, now you're kind of like, well, I ate all of that fat, but now I'm also kind of eating carbs. And it just negates everything and makes it a mess. So my advice is always balance, right? We need all 3 macronutrients in our diet. We need lots of great protein, especially for women, who are in their late 30s, 40s and above, right? We need lots of fiber, lots of beautiful vegetables. We need a good amount, not a crazy amount, of healthy, good fat. So I always tell people, follow the acronym VPF: vegetables, proteins, healthy fats. And if you follow that and you look on your plate and you see those 3 things on your plate, you're good. So in terms of vegetables, that should be what you have the most of. Second macro that you should have is your protein. So that should be the second thing that you have the most of. And then finally is your fats. Now, when it comes to things like starches, right? Like your carby carbs, your grains, that will be probably what I would tell people to have as the smallest portion. Keep it to a fist size. And I love using your hand as like a guidance for portioning, because if you're a tiny person, your fist is going to be a lot tinier than a very big person.
They're really good advice and really easy advice to follow as well. Yeah, I agree with the keto. Some of my friends are back on it because they've been reading all about brain health. And then they'll message me going, oh my God, I had a blowout this weekend. I drank too much wine. I had a carb-fueled Saturday night. And then but it's back to keto on Monday. And but it's another stress. Not on your body, but also your brain, when you're trying to think of so many things that you've got to do and manage in your life. And then you're like, oh God, I can only eat this, that, and the other on a restaurant menu, or I can only stock that in my pantry, or when I've got someone around for dinner, what I'm going to cook that will satisfy both of us. It's an extra stress on top of what we're already managing a pretty stressful life.
Exactly. For anyone who's doing it, for brain health, I would actually recommend, trying 2 other little things that are amazing for brain health, energy, clarity, etc. One is MCT oil, right? Start with just a teaspoon of it in the morning, whether you want to put it in your coffee, whether you want to just take a shot of it, whatnot. Really great for mental health and clarity. And then the other one is trying some mild, again, this is something that you do want to watch out with your cycle and go with the flow in that regards, but intermittent fasting is really beneficial and can be really great if done in the right way. So I always tell women, right, start with 12 hours, because a lot of women, surprisingly, are not even going 12 hours, which in my mind, I consider 12 hours a digestive rest, right? It's just giving your body enough time to digest the foods that you've had and go into that rest and repair mode and all of that good stuff. But it's not anything extra, right? So if you finish your dinner at 8, your breakfast is no earlier than 8 in the morning. Start there. You got it? It feels good. You're not really super hungry at 8 o'clock in the morning. Push it by half an hour or by an hour and see how you feel, and work from there and see how you feel. And that's the other thing, right? People swing so hard and so fast that our bodies can't even keep up. It's like, I'm on keto. I'm not on keto. I'm intermittent fasting. I'm not intermittent fasting. And your body's like, what the hell is going on? Just be consistent, right? We like consistency.
Yeah. And I think intermittent fasting, again, everyone tags it to weight loss. But what a lot of people forget is that our digestive system is the second largest organ in our body after our skin. And so all the energy in our body 24/7 is spent on our digestion. And when we give that a rest and go, hey, we're shutting up shop for 12 hours, the rest of your body can heal. Your skin naturally becomes better because the healing's going on in your skin and your liver and your kidneys and your heart and your lungs. Like, it's a natural repair mechanism.
Yeah, it is. The digestion is the process of the body that takes the most energy. So just imagine if we're eating throughout the day also. So I'm also a big advocate of kind of having, bigger meals and maybe not snacking or grazing throughout the day, right? Because again, you want those breaks for your digestion. But if you were digesting all day and halfway into the night, again, you're not giving your body that ample time to do what it can do naturally.
Yeah, no wonder you might start feeling sluggish and low energy levels and that you need a nap, because if your system is always on, chugging away, it's like an engine always being on, isn't it? And then it's just start stuttering.
Exactly. It's gonna start breaking down, basically.
And because it is Valentine's Day tomorrow, even though this episode will come out in a couple of weeks' time, they say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. So if you're wanting to impress your date with something really delicious but nutritious, what do you recommend that's easy to whip up?
So I'm a big fan of like very simple meals. And I feel like the simpler the meal, sometimes the more delicious it is. So if you want to go really simple, a really lovely green salad, make a nice vinaigrette. All you need is some vinegar, mustard, good olive oil, salt and pepper, maybe a bit of garlic. My trick for making a great salad is always to add in something sweet. So some fruit, excuse me. So some cut apple, for example, and then add in some nuts. So the texture of the nuts, a little bit of the sweetness with that, soury kind of the vinaigrette, and then the crunchy freshness of the greens that you add in there, it works every time. It makes every salad beautiful. So apples, pomegranates, berries of any kind, it's great. So simple salad, steak. Most men love a good steak, which is not complicated. Again, if you get a good cut of meat, just a bit of, salt is really all you need. Another dish actually, which I love, which is actually very easy. So I've got this recipe on my blog. It's actually one by Ottolenghi, and it's this delicious chicken, which you kind of cook in a broth. It's got lemon on there. It's got some spices. And all you do is literally throw these things together, pop them in the oven, and you're good. So serving something like that with some roasted broccoli that you can also put in the oven, a little bit of rice to soak up all of that delicious gravy, and you're good. And maybe a nice little organic wine to pair with it.
And as we wrap up this really amazing episode, what 3 takeaways can you give for women to really nourish their body and feel great?
First and most important one is listen to your body, right? I always say our body is constantly talking to us. It's constantly giving us signals. We're just kind of too busy to listen. So honor that. Listen to your body and move accordingly. Number 2 is be kind to yourself, right? A lot of us also are very big on, man, I suck. I'm the worst. I can't do anything. I can't do this. I can't do that, right? I always say your body hears everything your mind says. So even if you're not verbalizing it, it affects your vibrations and the way your body processes things. So be kind to yourself. And then the third one is follow VPF for success. Vegetables, proteins, and good fats. When building a meal, breakfast, lunch, or dinner, it'll save you.
Brilliant tips. And what's your website if people want to download some of your recipes and try them at home?
Yeah, so my website is healthyishandhappy.com. And I always say it's because it's my motto. We all want to be healthy, but we all need a little bit of that ish in order to stay happy. So yeah, healthyishandhappy.com, and same for Instagram and TikTok as well. It's healthyishandhappy is the handle.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us on PS I Love Me. You've been a wealth of knowledge.
Thank you so much, Lynda.
That's it for today's episode of PS I Love Me. I hope you've learned some interesting nuggets to weave into your everyday life to feel a little lighter, brighter, and inspired. If you loved today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps more high-achieving women like yourselves to find us. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Lynda Williams Coach, for more daily inspiration and updates.